Hello and welcome to our channel, Learn English Now, where we teach English through powerful and emotional stories. Today, we are starting a very special story, the real-life journey of Albert Einstein, one of the most brilliant minds in history. We will explain it all in easy, simple English, so that you can enjoy the story and also improve your English. This story is perfect for beginners, so don't worry if your English is not strong yet. Just relax and enjoy. Stay with us, listen carefully, and if you love learning English through stories, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more beautiful stories like this. Now let's begin. Part 1. The Early Life of a Genius. Albert Einstein was born on March 14, 1879, in the small city of Ulm, in what was then the Kingdom of Württemberg, Germany. His parents, Hermann and Pauline Einstein, were ordinary people. Hermann was a businessman who ran a small factory that produced electrical equipment, while Pauline was a homemaker who loved playing the piano. They were not wealthy, but they valued education and hard work. When Albert was born, his parents noticed something unusual about him. His head was unusually large and shaped differently. They were worried, but the doctor assured them that Albert was healthy. As a baby, Albert was quiet and thoughtful. He did not speak until he was almost 3 years old. His parents became anxious, wondering if something was wrong. Then, one evening at dinner, Albert finally spoke. He said, "The soup is too hot." His parents were shocked and asked why he had not spoken before. Albert simply replied, "Because everything was fine until now." Albert's early childhood was quiet and solitary. He was not very social and preferred playing by himself. One day, his father gave him a small compass. Albert was fascinated by how the needle always pointed in the same direction. He wanted to understand why it behaved that way. This moment sparked his curiosity about science. At school, Albert did not fit in. The teachers thought he was slow because he often daydreamed and did not memorize things easily. Albert did not like rote learning. He wanted to understand ideas, not just repeat facts. His teachers were strict, and Albert felt frustrated. Once, a teacher even told him, "You will never amount to anything." These words hurt him, but they also made him more determined to follow his own path. One person who believed in Albert was his uncle Jakob. Jakob was an engineer and loved mathematics. He introduced young Albert to algebra, calling it the art of solving puzzles. Albert found it fascinating. Mathematics became his favorite subject because it made sense to him. Numbers followed rules, unlike people or society. Part 2. The Curious Student. Albert's mother encouraged him to play the violin. At first, he did not like it, but over time, he grew to love playing classical music, especially Mozart. Playing the violin became his way to relax and think. Later in life, music would remain a constant source of comfort for him. As a teenager, Albert moved to Munich with his family. There, he attended a strict school where discipline was more important than creativity. Albert felt trapped. He often got in trouble for questioning the teacher's lessons. His rebellious spirit did not fit well in such an environment. One day, when he was about 15, Albert fell ill and had to stay home for several weeks. During this time, he read books on philosophy, physics, and mathematics. He discovered the works of Immanuel Kant, a German philosopher who wrote about space, time, and reality. These ideas made Albert think deeply about the universe and how it worked. When he recovered, he returned to school but felt more disconnected than ever. Eventually, he convinced his parents to let him leave the school and move to Italy, where they had relocated. Albert felt happier there, away from the rigid school system. He spent his days reading, learning on his own, and thinking about the mysteries of the universe. Albert wanted to attend the Swiss Federal Polytechnic in Zurich to study physics. He took the entrance exam, but failed in some subjects like French and chemistry. However, his math and physics scores were outstanding. The school advised him to complete his high school education and try again. Not giving up, Albert enrolled in a school in Aarau, Switzerland, where the teaching style was more open and modern. He enjoyed it there, as teachers encouraged creativity and critical thinking. He graduated and was finally accepted into the Polytechnic. Albert was excited to study physics with some of the most respected professors of the time. Part 3. The Miracle Year. But life was still challenging. Albert was not good at making friends. He spent most of his time alone, solving problems and thinking about theories. His classmates saw him as eccentric, someone who preferred ideas over people. Despite being a brilliant student, Albert struggled to find a job after graduation. His professors did not recommend him for academic positions because they found him stubborn and too independent. He needed to support himself, so he took a job as a patent examiner at the Swiss Patent Office in Bern. His job was to evaluate new inventions and check if they were truly original. Working at the patent office was not very exciting, but it gave Albert time to think. During his free time, he worked on scientific problems, filling his notebooks with ideas and equations. This was the beginning of a period of intense creativity. In 1903, Albert married Mileva Maric, a fellow physics student from the Polytechnic. Mileva was intelligent and passionate about science. They shared ideas, discussed theories, and dreamed of a future together. They had 2 sons, Hans Albert and Edouard. Balancing work, family, and his scientific passion was not easy for Albert, but he remained determined. At the patent office, Albert began to develop new ideas about space, time, and energy. He wrote papers during his spare time and sent them to scientific journals. In 1905, a miracle year for Albert, he published 4 groundbreaking papers. These papers would change the world of physics forever. One of these papers introduced the theory of special relativity, which included the famous equation ESMC2. It meant that energy and mass are interchangeable, revealing a deep connection between matter and energy. At first, people did not fully understand the importance of this discovery, but scientists soon realized its revolutionary potential. Another paper explained the photoelectric effect, proving that light could act as both a particle and a wave. This idea was so groundbreaking that Albert later received the Nobel Prize in Physics for it. Albert was still working at the patent office when his theories started gaining attention. His ideas were bold and challenged long-established concepts in physics. Some scientists were skeptical, but others recognized his genius. Albert's journey from a curious child to a groundbreaking scientist was not easy. He faced doubt, rejection, and challenges, but his passion for knowledge never faded. His love for science and his determination to understand the universe kept him moving forward, even when the world doubted him. Part 4. Fame and Recognition. After publishing his groundbreaking papers in 1905, Albert Einstein's reputation in the scientific world grew rapidly. Scholars started to notice his brilliant ideas, and slowly, he gained the respect he deserved. Even though he was still working as a patent clerk, his theories were becoming the talk of the scientific community. In 1909, Albert finally left his job at the patent office. He was offered a teaching position at the University of Zurich. It was a dream come true. Now he could focus entirely on physics and share his passion with students. His lectures were unique because he encouraged students to think critically rather than just memorize facts. Soon, other universities wanted him as well. He moved to the University of Prague and later returned to Zurich, where he continued his groundbreaking work. During this time, he developed his theory of general relativity, an extension of his special relativity theory. General relativity was even more ambitious. It suggested that gravity was not a force pulling objects together, but rather a curve in space and time caused by massive objects. In 1915, after years of dedication, Einstein completed his theory. He presented it at the Prussian Academy of Sciences in Berlin, where he had moved to work. The scientific community was astonished. Some were skeptical, but Einstein was confident. He knew his theory would be proven right someday. In 1919, during a solar eclipse, British astronomer Sir Arthur Eddington conducted an experiment to test Einstein's theory. Eddington measured the bending of starlight around the sun as predicted by general relativity. The results confirmed Einstein's calculations. The news spread like wildfire. Newspapers around the world proclaimed Einstein a genius. Headlines read, "Einstein's theory confirmed." Suddenly, the quiet, thoughtful physicist became a global celebrity. People were fascinated by his wild hair, simple clothes, and kind eyes. Part 5. Personal Struggles and Global Fame. Becoming famous was not easy for Albert. He loved his work, but the sudden attention overwhelmed him. Journalists followed him everywhere, and people wanted to know everything about his life. He remained humble and focused on his research, but the pressure was intense. During this period, his personal life was also complicated. His marriage with Mileva began to fall apart. They had grown distant as Albert's dedication to science consumed most of his time. In 1919, they divorced, but Albert made sure to support Mileva and their sons financially. Shortly after the divorce, Albert married his cousin Elsa, who had been his close friend for many years. Elsa understood Albert's dedication to science and supported him through the chaos of his rising fame. They moved to Berlin, where Albert continued his work. In the 1920s, Einstein traveled extensively, giving lectures around the world. He visited the United States, Japan, and several European countries. Everywhere he went, crowds gathered to see the genius who had changed the way people understood the universe. Despite his fame, Einstein remained down to earth. He spoke against nationalism and promoted peace, especially after witnessing the devastation of World War I. He used his influence to support humanitarian causes and advocated for intellectual freedom. Part 6. The Nobel Prize and a Changing World. In 1921, Albert Einstein was awarded the Nobel Prize in Physics. Interestingly, it was not for his theory of relativity, but for his work on the photoelectric effect. The committee still found relativity too controversial, but acknowledged the undeniable impact of his earlier research on light. Albert was not particularly interested in the fame or the prize money. For him, the real reward was understanding the universe. Still, he accepted the honor graciously and used part of the money to support his family. While Einstein's scientific career thrived, the political situation in Germany grew darker. The rise of the Nazi Party worried him deeply. As a Jewish scientist, he became a target of anti-Semitic attacks. His works were dismissed as Jewish science, and he faced increasing hostility. In 1933, when Adolf Hitler rose to power, Einstein was visiting the United States. Realizing he could not return to Germany safely, he decided to stay in America. He accepted a position at the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, New Jersey. Einstein became a refugee, leaving behind his home, friends, and beloved library. Despite the sadness, he felt grateful to be in a place where he could continue his research freely. He became an American citizen in 1940, fully embracing his new life in Princeton. Part 7. A Voice for Peace. During his time in the United States, Einstein became increasingly vocal about social and political issues. He strongly opposed fascism and spoke against racial discrimination. He formed friendships with civil rights leaders, including Webb Du Bois and Paul Robeson, advocating for equal rights and justice. In 1939, Einstein learned about the potential of nuclear fission from fellow physicists. Concerned that Nazi Germany might develop an atomic bomb, he signed a letter to President Franklin D. Roosevelt urging him to start nuclear research. This letter led to the Manhattan Project, which ultimately developed the atomic bomb. However, when the bombs were dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki in 1945, Einstein felt deep regret. Although he had not directly worked on the project, he felt responsible for initiating the research. From that moment on, he became a passionate advocate for nuclear disarmament and world peace. He joined movements to ban nuclear weapons and warned humanity of the dangers of atomic warfare. His iconic phrase, "The unleashed power of the atom has changed everything save our modes of thinking, and thus we drift toward unparalleled catastrophe." Part 8. Legacy and Final Years. In his later years, Einstein remained dedicated to science. He continued to work on unifying the forces of nature, trying to develop a theory that combined gravity and electromagnetism. Although he never succeeded, he remained curious and intellectually active until the end. At Princeton, he lived a simple life. He walked to his office daily, wore old sweaters, and played his beloved violin. He received countless letters from admirers, young scientists, and curious students. He replied to as many as he could, always encouraging young minds to think independently. Einstein also continued to advocate for peace and tolerance. When asked about his identity, he said, "I am a citizen of the world." He believed in human unity and often spoke against prejudice and hatred. In 1955, Einstein fell ill. Knowing that his time was near, he refused surgery, saying, "I want to go when I want. It is tasteless to prolong life artificially." On April 18, 1955, he passed away peacefully in his sleep. The world mourned the loss of one of the greatest minds in history. Scientists, world leaders, and ordinary people paid tribute to the humble genius who had forever changed the way humanity understood the cosmos. Today, Einstein's legacy lives on. His theories are fundamental to modern physics. From understanding the cosmos to developing technology, his commitment to peace, justice, and intellectual freedom remains an inspiration to people worldwide. Einstein once said, "Imagination is more important than knowledge." He believed that curiosity and creativity were at the heart of the discovery. His life was a testament to that idea, a journey driven by wonder, courage, and the relentless pursuit of truth. Thank you for listening to this story about Albert Einstein. If you enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more inspiring stories. See you next time.